everybody is well. We are going to start in a seated position, so on a cushion or a blanket, or just on the mat, whatever you find the most comfortable. And just resting the hands then down onto the thighs, lift up through the crown of the head. And when you're ready, just close the eyes. So we're going to stay here just for a little while, focusing on the breath and just trying to bring everything down, try to stop our minds racing around. So we're not doing anything to the breath to begin with. You're not trying to change it or direct it in any way. So you just become aware of what's happening with the breath. It may be quite shallow and you can feel it right up in your chest, or it may be down a little further at your ribs or right down in your belly. And we're going to start to deepen the breath a little bit. So breathing in through the nose, I want you to bring the breath right down into the belly. So really fill the belly like a balloon and hold it there for a moment, and then exhale again through the nose. And as you exhale through the nose, draw the belly button back in gently until all the air is emptied out. Pause at the end of that cycle and then inhale again, filling the belly. Pause and then exhale. And keep that cycle of breath going. Keep lifting up through the crown of the head. And keep bringing your attention back to the breath. So if you find that the mind is wandering a little, just see if you can gently guide your attention back to what's happening with the breath. Let's do 3 more rounds of breath before we move on. And when you finish the last round of breaths, just coming back to your natural inhale and exhale. Good, and then just gently flicker open the eyes. Brilliant. And nod the chin down towards the chest, but keep the lift in the spine. So we're not curling into the spine. The chin is gently nodding in towards the chest. So you're opening up through the back of the neck. Good. And then we're going to very gently just tilt the chin up towards the ceiling, not crunching into the back of the neck. Good, and then bring it back down to center and all the way back down so the chin is towards the chest. Good, once more, gently lifting and tilting towards the ceiling. And then back to center, and then you're going to look over the right shoulder. And then back to center, and then looking over the left shoulder. Good, and then back to center. Now we're going to nod the right ear down towards the right shoulder. And then if you want to, you can take the right fingertips and just bring them onto the tip of the left ear and just gently allow the weight of the arm to open up that stretch a little bit more on that left side. But just feeling your way through it. If it doesn't feel good to have the hand in the head, then don't do it. Good. Another breath or two here. And then release the hand, let the head float back up to center, and then bring that left ear down towards the left shoulder, making sure the left shoulders are relaxed. And then those left fingertips up to the tip of the right ear if you want to. Good. And then releasing the hand and the head and bring it back into center. Lovely. We're going to interlace the fingers. Press the hands out in front. So drop the shoulders down here, lift up through the crown of the head. And then if you want, bring a little bit of a bend into the elbows, and then slowly, slowly, we're going to bring the arms up so the palms are facing towards the ceiling. And the reason I say put the bend in the elbows is because the shoulders and the chest can be quite tight in the morning. So rather than trying to straighten the arms immediately, just kind of feel your way through it, and then start to maybe lengthen up through the arms. See how that feels. Bring the shoulder blades down the back and bring the ribs in, because sometimes what tends to happen is that the chest and the ribs shoot out. So let's draw everything back in. Good. Maybe bending the elbows a couple of times and then straightening. And don't hold the breath. Good. Maybe reaching over towards that right side a little bit. You don't have to go very far. Come back to center and then go to the other side. Keep the head in the middle of the arm so your chin isn't jutting out, or the ear isn't falling down onto the arm. And then come back into center and then release the arms out wide. Bring the right fingertips down onto the floor and then reach up with those left fingertips. Good. So get a really big stretch through that left side, and then kind of bending from that left hip. Press the left hip down into the mat or towards the mat, and then stretch away. So you still got that length. And we're not collapsing down into that right side. Good. Come back into center, and then the same with the other side. So you reach up with the right fingertips And then slowly opening up, pressing down, or bringing a little bit of attention to that right side hip. Good. And then coming back into center. Lovely. We're going to take the right hand to the left knee. The left hand comes behind in line with the sit bone here, and you use that left arm to keep you lifted so that as you twist around, you're not collapsing into your back. So use it like a rod. Bring that left shoulder down, and then very gently start to rotate around towards that left side. And then if you feel comfortable enough, you can just let the chin go to look over that left shoulder. Try and relax the face. Keep the breath soft. And then releasing back to center, and we'll do the same on that other side. So that left hand comes to the right knee, right hand comes behind, lift up through the crown of the head, and then gently rotate around. And releasing the head if you want to. Breath is soft. Good, and then coming all the way back into center. I just want you to uncross your legs and recross them the other way. Okay, and then you're going to lift up through the crown of the head. We're going to do a little forward fold here. So just bringing the hands out in front, lift up from the tailbone so that we're not kind of collapsing through the back. You've got length in the spine, and as you do that, you'll kind of start to feel that in the hips if you keep the length in the spine, and then walk the hands out a little bit at a time. And then when you feel like you've kind of gone far enough, you can just allow the head, make sure the shoulders are relaxed as well, allow the head to come down. Press into the floor with your hands and sort of push back into your hips here. And breathing right into the back body, so right down to those lower ribs and even right down into the low back. Good, and we're going to spider the hands over a little bit towards the right. So keeping yourself quite low. Make sure the hands are shoulder distance apart, shoulders are relaxed. Again, you can just tuck the chin in gently. Good, coming back into center. Let's take a breath in the middle so we're not rushing anything. Lovely, and then walk those hands to the left, relax the shoulders down, tuck the chin in. Good, and then back to center. Let's take a breath in the middle. And slowly walking the hands back onto the thighs. Lift up through the crown of the head. Just close the eyes again here for one last little moment. And take a breath into the belly. And then releasing everything out. Good. Open the eyes. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. So just putting the blanket to one side. Somewhere close by. Good. So the hands underneath the shoulders. Spread the fingers nice and wide here, and the hands shoulder distance apart. The knees are hip distance apart. Good. And we're just going to rock backwards and forwards here, just very gently. Making sure not to hold the breath, that you're just maybe connecting the movement to the breath. So inhaling in one direction and exhaling the other. And make this movement as big or as small as you need to or want to. Just get a little bit of heat into the body. Taking care of the wrists. So if it feels like too much, just making the movement a little bit smaller. And we're going to start to move then in circles. So you bring the hips down, maybe a little bend into the elbow. So big circle, you're sweeping the hips down, the bum down towards the heels. And then make sure you do the opposite direction. Good. And then coming all the way down towards the heels, the knees apart, toes together, and just resting the head down onto the hands here, shoulders away from the ears. And taking the breath right down into the low back and the side ribs. Good, another breath or two here. And slowly, slowly, we're going to roll on up. Bring the knees together. You're going to sit back onto the heels. Resting the hands down onto the thighs. Lift up through the crown of the head. Good, and we're going to come forward. We're going to bring that right foot towards the top of the mat. So the knee and the ankle of that right foot are in line with each other. And then you can curl the toes under of that back foot and bring the knee back a little bit here. So you're not right on the middle of that back knee. You can allow the tops of the feet to touch the mat. Good, and then we're going to press into that right foot and reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling. So really opening up through this left hip here. If you need to get something to cushion this left knee, you can like fold your mat over and rest your knee onto it like that, or grab your blanket. Reaching the fingertips up towards the ceiling, drop the shoulders down. Good. Another couple of breaths here. Lovely. And then you're going to take both hands down. If you want to now, you can curl the toes under of that back foot and lift that back knee, straightening that back leg, pushing back through that back heel. Bring the left hand down onto the floor, and then you're going to open up. It's a lovely opening for the body through that right side. So reaching those fingertips, those right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Drop that right hip down, but press the floor away with that right foot. And again, you can have that left knee down on the mat if this feels like it's a little bit too much. Good, you're going to bring that right hand down to the inside of that right foot and walk the right foot out a little bit towards the back of the mat. And then if you have your knee lifted, that back knee, you're going to bring it back down onto the mat, flatten the toes here. Good. And we're just going to start to circle with those hips a little bit here. So again, just feeling your way around with what feels good here. And make sure you do both directions. Good. And then you're going to slide that right foot back, knees hip distance apart. And then you're going to sit the heels back onto, or sit the bum back onto the heels. Rest the head down. Just take a couple of breaths here. You're moving quite slowly today. No rush to get anything done. Good. And then coming all the way back up onto all fours. You're going to take that left leg forward. So that left knee and the left ankle are in line with each other. You can curl the toes under of that back knee, bring it back a little bit, flatten the toes, and then when you're ready, you're going to push the floor away, lift the fingertips up towards the ceiling. So you can drop down into the hips here, but I want you to make sure that you're pressing the floor away with that left foot. So you're not like putting all the weight into the left knee without any sort of support from the foot. So drop down as far as you like, but make sure that this leg and this side leg are working by pressing the floor away with the foot, reaching the fingertips up towards the ceiling. So you're getting a lovely opening then on that right side. Good. The fingertips come down to the floor. Maybe walk the foot out an inch or two, that left foot, and then curl the toes under that back foot if you want, and lifting that back knee. And then opening through that left side. So for the head here, you can look up towards that right thumb, or you can look straight out. Just see how the neck feels, how the head feels, but don't let anything kind of drop down. Good, another breath or two here. And then that left hand comes down, the left foot moves out towards the edge of the mat. You can bring that back knee, and we'll just start to circle the hips a little bit here. They can be big circles or little circles. Again, not locking anything here, so make sure the elbows are soft. Good, and then you're going to sweep that left foot back. Knees are hip distance apart, hands are shoulder distance apart. Walk the hands a little bit in front of the shoulders, spread the fingers wide because we're going to come into downward facing dog. So curl the toes under, draw the low belly in, and then you're lifting the hips up and back, bending the knees and just pedaling the feet, pedaling the heels down towards the floor. Really push the floor away with the hands. So you get a lovely length from the hands all the way up the arms and into the back. Lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Let the head hang down. So just nodding yes and no with the head a couple of times. And as always, if you need to come down into child's pose or just take a break, then do it. Maybe thinking about straightening the legs now. You're pressing out to the back of the thighs. You can come right up onto the toes and then press down to the heels a couple of times. It's quite nice. Opening as well for the back of the legs. Maybe once more. Good. And then we're going to walk the feet towards the hands, the hands towards the feet. I'm going to stay in a forward fold for a little bit here. So feet are hip distance apart or even a little bit further. A nice bend in the knees. Just let the upper body just hang down over the thighs and let the head go completely. The arms here are maybe just grazing the floor, or you can hold onto your elbows. Maybe just moving from side to side. Really just make sure there's no tension in the neck or the head. The head is just hanging there. Then we'll be releasing the arms. And we're going to slowly kind of drag the fingertips up the legs to become to a half forward fold. So the hands are kind of around the knees. The shoulders are back away from the ears. Good. And then you're going to release down through the legs again. You can bend the knees, let the hands come down towards the floor, let the head go. Good. So we're going to inhale, bring the fingertips up, lengthen through the spine for that half forward fold, half bend, and then all the way back down again. Connect the movement to the breath. So inhale up and exhale down. Good. Inhale up and exhale down. Let's do one more. Inhale up and then exhale down. And this time when we come up, we're just going to bring the arms out wide, keep a bend in the knees, roll up through the spine, and then eventually straighten the legs, and then bringing the hands together, palms together, look up towards the ceiling, and then the hands come down in front of the heart. Good. So just standing here for a moment or two. Drop the shoulders down. Brilliant. And then releasing the hands. Lovely. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of balance work here. So we're going to start on that left leg. So press down into the left foot and lift that left hip, and then just take the right knee up. I'm going to straighten my t-shirt here because it looks like I'm doing that. So the knee and the hip are in line with each other here. Just for a moment, you can bring the hand onto that right knee. Again, press the floor away with the feet, lift up through the crown of the head. And then if you want to here, you can see if you can get that right heel to the inner thigh on that left side, or anywhere on that leg. So it can be right down here. It can be on your calf muscle here. Good. So working into tree pose, bring the hands to the heart, and then just finding a focal point that's at your eye line. If you want, you can bring the fingertips. I'm wobbling all over the place, so don't look at me. Up towards the ceiling with those hands. Good. Bring the hands down. Release the foot. See if you can bring it out in front before bringing it back down onto the floor, and then just walk out with those feet a little bit here. Okay. Again, we're going to go to the other side. So lifting up through the right leg, bringing that left knee up. Good. Holding here for a breath or two. See if you can sort of draw the shoulders back and not kind of fall in towards the knee. And then when you're ready, seeing what you can do with that left heel. If the foot is kind of pressed up to the top of the inner thigh, see if you can open that left leg a little bit. So you press into the foot into the top of the thigh, and you press the leg back against the foot. And then when you bring the hands to the heart, and then maybe lifting up. Good. Breath or two. The hands come down. Release the leg. And then bring that foot down, and let's just walk it out. Brilliant. And then let's just take the feet nice and wide. So you can go really wide on the mat with this, and then just make sure that the toes are sort of pointing in a little bit here. Not completely in, but just a small turn in of the feet. Take the hands to the hips. We're going to come into another forward fold. If you find in these kind of poses that you need something as you bring your hands down towards the floor, like your blanket or a couple of books, go and grab something now. We're going to take the elbows behind, the shoulders down away from the ears. Good. Lift up through the knees. So if you engage these muscles here on the front of your thighs, you'll find that you can lift the knees, and this just switches all of this on, but it also allows the back of the legs to open up. So lift the chest, and we're going to come forward folding now. Try and keep the spine, the length in the spine. Good. Don't rush it. And then when you're ready, you can release the hands down to the floor. So the hands are under the shoulders. The hands are shoulder distance apart. You might want to adjust the feet here a little bit. Either bring them in or bring them out. Good. Keep the legs nice and active. And you can stay here if this is as much as you want to do. Or if you want to start to walk the hands back a little bit here and open up a little bit more through the back of those legs. Let the head go. The elbows are pointing back. Good. And you can stay here, or if you want to, you can bend into that right knee. And see if you can open up through that inner left leg a little bit here. And coming back to center, and again doing the same on that other side. Just playing around a little bit here. Good, back to center. If you want to bring the hands out to the feet, you can. I'll let the head go. Another breath or two here. And the hands come back to center. Lengthen through the spine, maybe right up onto the fingertips, maybe back onto those books or the blanket. Brilliant. Then heel toe the feet in a couple of times, once or twice. Hands to the hips. Press the feet into the mat. Draw the low belly in. And then with strong legs, we're going to come all the way back up to standing. Just roll the shoulders a couple of times. Brilliant. Okay, from here, let's keep the legs nice and wide. We're going to turn the right toes out towards the top of the mat. Good. And then we're going to turn the back foot in a little bit here and then take the hips towards the top of the mat. Good. Okay. And then from here, just open the chest. And we're going to fold down over that front leg. Now, you don't have to get very far at all. We can just tip forward here a little bit. You're pressing into the back heel. Draw the kneecap up on that right leg. So what happens here sometimes is that we press a little bit too hard into the back of the knee. Also, having a bend in this front leg is totally acceptable as well. It doesn't have to be completely straight at all. You're trying to kind of square the hips off a little bit, draw the kneecap up again, so you're activating that muscle on the front of the leg and allowing the muscle on the back, that big hamstrings, all those hamstrings in the back of your leg to open up. Just slowly, slowly, keep the length in the spine. Good. Another couple of moments here. And then when you're ready, press the floor away and come all the way up. And then let's turn the hips around. Let's swivel that back foot and let's come nice and wide between the feet. So the toes now of that left foot are pointing forward. The heel of the front foot and the heel of the back foot are in line with each other here. These toes pointing forward, those right toes pointing forward, left toes pointing out that way. Good. And you're going to lift the arms up. We're going to come into warrior two. So you're bending into that right knee and then looking out over the front fingertips. Just make sure this left arm hasn't dropped down too low. Open the chest, draw the low belly in. Good. Bring that right forearm right down onto that right thigh. Lift the left fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then if you want to, if it feels okay, you can start to bring that left arm over the ear. Good. And see if you can rotate those left ribs around towards the back a little bit more. Brilliant. Good. Coming back into warrior two. So you press the floor away with that front foot, looking out over those front fingertips, and drop the hands down, and then straighten that front leg. Turn those right toes towards the front, and then those left toes towards the back or the top of the mat now. Good. Okay. And actually, we're going to turn those right toes a little bit more in, because we're going to do that forward fold. I'd forgotten about that. So shorten the stance between the legs. The feet are hip distance apart. Good. Turn the hips towards the top of the mat. Hands onto the hips. Open the chest. Good. Draw the low belly in. Press into that right heel, so that heel that's at the back. You feel that stretch. Again, if you need to keep a little bend in that left knee at the front, then do that. Otherwise, we're coming forward, just feeling your way through it. Make any adjustments you need with the feet, as if they might need to go a bit wider. You might need to shorten the stance a little bit. Again, I just caught myself doing it there, not pressing into the back of the left leg too much, the back of the left knee. Brilliant. Another breath or two here. And then press the floor away, come all the way up. Good. We're going to turn the hips back towards the center. You're going to wiggle that right foot back. Good. So the toes are facing at a 90-degree angle of that front foot, if that makes sense. And then we're going to open the arms up, bend into that front knee. Brilliant. Reaching out through the arms, make the arms nice and long, and then looking out over those front fingertips. Bend a little bit more into that front leg. And then you're going to bring that left arm down onto, the left forearm down onto the thigh. Lift those right fingertips up towards the ceiling. Make sure that left shoulder is away from the ears. There's length in the back of the neck. And then if you want, you can reach those right fingertips over and maybe start to think about rotating those right ribs around towards the back. And then naturally, as you do that, you'll be able to maybe think about looking up towards the ceiling. But if not, if it feels like it's too much for the balance, you just look straight out. Good, another breath or two here. And then slowly coming back up into warrior two. Drop the arms, turn those left toes in, and then turn those right toes out again and shorten the stance. And we're going to come into Trikonasana, which is triangle pose on that right side. Good. Again, so just lining up the right foot with the inner arch of the right, the back foot, so that left leg, or the heel. So heel to heel or heel to arch. Lift the fingertips up on both sides and then reaching out over the front toes. Bring that right hand down to wherever it goes. It can be the thigh, it can be on the leg, it can be right down here. Take the left hand to the hip and then open up through those left ribs. So there's length in the spine. Good. You can even have a bend in that front leg if you want. If you're straightening the leg, again, you're not pressing into the back of the knee. You're lifting up through that right thigh. Good. You're thinking about rotating those left ribs around. Another breath here. And then bringing yourself all the way back up. Turn those right toes in, the left toes out. Again, just taking your time with the feet, lifting the arms up and then reaching out over the front leg, bringing that hand down and that right hand onto the hip and rotating around with those right ribs. Good. Another breath or two here. Press the floor away, come all the way back up to standing. Turn the left toes in. Good. Take the hands onto the hips. We're going to come into a forward fold again here, but quite a short stance between the feet. If you need to go a bit wider, then you can. Open the chest and then folding forward. Good. You can bring the hands down onto the floor. Brilliant. And then you're going to take the right hand into the center. You're going to open up through that left side. Then you're going to bend into the right knee a little here. Good. That left hand comes down, bend into the left knee, open up through that right side. And we're going to do that once more. Right hand comes down. We open up through the left, moving with the breath. And then down. And then opening up. Good. Both hands come down. You straighten both legs. Hands to the hips. Press the floor away. Come all the way back up to standing. Gorgeous. Okay, so here we go. Up to the top of the mat. Shake the legs out a little bit here. Feet are hip distance apart. We're going to roll down through the spine now. So bring the hands down at either side of the thighs. Fingertips pointing down towards the floor. A little bit of a space between the hips and the palms and the hands. Lift up to the crown of the head. Then you're going to nod the chin towards the chest. very gently. So make sure there's about a fist distance, or if you imagine an apple between the chin and the chest. And then you're going to allow the shoulders to roll. So the arms are free, the head is free. There's nothing happening there. You're not holding on to that. Little bend in the knees here. And just rolling down through the spine. Nice and slowly until the fingertips are touching the floor. Good. And you're going to step back with that right foot, step back with the left. So we're in plank here, or half plank, depending on how you feel. So the shoulders away from the ears. The third finger on the hands are pointing forward. Good. Crown of the head pointing forward and the heels pressing back. Draw the low belly in. See if you can round up through the upper part of the back, so between the shoulder blades, so we're not sinking down. I'm going to hold it here for another breath or two, or in your half plank. Good. And then everybody, tuck the elbows in and lower ourselves all the way down onto the mat. I'm just going to scooch back a little bit here. Brilliant. So bringing the hands under the shoulders, the feet are hip distance apart. You're just going to press the tops of the feet into the mat and bring the elbows in, shoulder blades back and down. And then as you press the tops of the feet into the mat, you'll feel the knees maybe lift off the floor a little bit. And you're just going to open up through the chest, draw the low belly in. Good. And then release everything back down to the floor. Let's do that again. Tops of the feet press into the mat. Shoulders move down and away from the ears. Low belly drops in. Good. And then release the head down. Bring the head onto the hands. Lovely. And then from here, just going to lift that left leg up a little bit. Point the toes. Good. Imagine somebody pulling your foot. So you're really getting length into that leg. And then put that foot back down on the mat and do the same with the right foot. Lift that right leg up. Imagine somebody pulling the leg. That's it. Pointing the toes and then bring it back down onto the floor. So the feet are hip distance apart here. You're going to take the right hand behind and then the left hand behind. So the palms are facing in. And then you're going to press the tops of the feet into the mat and you're going to lift up through the chest, keeping the eyes looking down towards the mat. So the neck is nice and long. Good. Keep pressing into the tops of the feet. Draw the low belly in. See if you can lift up an inch more. And of course, just making sure there's no niggles in that low back. So you're using the core, you're using that low belly drawn in, all those core muscles to support the low back. Press, 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 and then release everything down. Let the tops of the hands come to the mat. Let the face, one side of the face, press into the mat. And take a breath or two here. Good. And then we're going to do one more of those. So bring the gaze back to the mat. So you're looking a couple of inches away from the mat. The back of the neck is nice and long. You're going to press the tops of the feet into the mat. Then you're going to lift up, drawing that low belly in. If you want to now, you can interlace the fingers and then and draw the arms back and see if you can get up a little bit higher. But again, just going at your own pace. Good. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. And breathing. Good. And then releasing everything down and bring the face on that other side down to the mat. Lovely. And then coming back to center with the head, bring the hands underneath the shoulders, draw the elbows in. We're going to press all the way back, toes together, and bring the knees to the edge of the mat and sit back for a big wide-legged child's pose. So you can rest the elbows down on the floor here, or you can take the head onto the hands, or you can bring the head all the way down onto the mat and maybe reach the fingertips away. If you're doing that, maybe then lifting the wrists up from the floor. But whichever one you decide on, just make sure that the breath now is really expanding those side and back ribs and that low back. Good, another breath or two here. And then slowly just coming all the way back up to a seated position. So your hero pose, if you're sitting onto your heels, hands resting down onto the thighs, lifting up through the crown of the head. Just close the eyes for a moment here. Good. Opening the eyes, we're going to find the floor with our bums down and come onto, well, actually sitting up first of all, before we roll all the way back down. Just have a look at the feet here. Make sure the feet are hip distance apart. So the heels are in line with the sit bones here. You can use 2 fists between the feet just to kind of make sure that that's the correct distance. Toes are pointing forward. Hold on to the back of the thighs and then roll slowly down onto the mat. Good. Okay. So from here, you're going to walk the heels in, but keep them hip distance apart. See if you can graze the fingertips to the top, to the back of the heels. No worries if you can't. That's totally okay. Bring the palms of the hands down onto the floor and then just broaden across the chest. Lengthen through the back of the neck. So everything is as open as it can be here. You're going to draw the low belly in and we're going to work into lifting up into a bridge. So we're going to just take the hips straight up so that the knees, the hips, the ribs and the shoulders are in one line here. There should be no tension in the neck whatsoever. So you should be able to very easily just look with the chin to one side and then roll to the other side. Just to check, just to make sure everything is okay. You're looking straight up towards the ceiling. You're really pressing the feet into the floor. Lift the hips up a little bit higher here. So you're really working into the glute muscles, the back of the thighs, so those hamstrings are working. The opening then is coming through the front of the thighs and really into those hip flexors and through the belly as well. And then we're going to bring everything slowly back down onto the mat. Just let everything settle for a moment. And we're going to do that once more. You're either going to stay with the one that we just did, or we're going to move on to a little bit more of a back bend or a back opening. So you're going to lift the hips up. If this feels like it's enough, or you have any sort of niggles in the back, then just stay here. Otherwise, you can roll one shoulder under and then the other shoulder under. You can stay like that, lifting the hips up, or you can interlace the fingers and draw the hands down towards the heels. Again, just making sure that the knees are still hip distance apart. They haven't fallen out towards the sides. So really press the floor away with the feet, lift the hips up. The back of the neck is nice and long, so you're dropping the chest down towards the chin. And then taking a couple of breaths here. So again, this is really working into all those muscles on the back body, toning and strengthening, and then you're opening up through the front body. Good. Release the hands, release the shoulders, and then slowly rolling down through the spine, all the way back down, and then just hug the knees in over the belly. Lovely. Good. You can rock from side to side. You can do little circles if you like. Good. And then from here, you're just going to bring the feet down onto the floor. Bring the feet together, the knees together, and just drop the knees to the right side. Make sure the shoulders are away from the ears. So a little soft twist here. Good. Bring the knees back to center. And then the same on the other side. So a little twist. Good. Then bring the knees back into center to make sure the hips are centered here. And then you're going to bring one knee in. Just hold on to the back of the thigh here. If you want to, you can hold on to the inner foot or the outer part of the foot here, but you're drawing the knee down towards the mat, and then at the same time I want you to lengthen through the tailbone. So really think about bringing the length into the spine. You're not kind of curling up into this. Good. Brilliant. And then release that foot down, and we're going to do the same with the other side. So you're bringing the left knee in, finding a good spot for your hand. Again, rolling the tailbone down towards the mat. And if you want to now, if you find that your shoulders are sort of lifting up off the mat, grab your blanket and then just put it under your head. Good. And then releasing that left foot down towards the floor. Just lengthen the legs away here for a moment. Point the toes. Bring the thighs together. So the ankles, the legs and the thighs are squeezing together. And we're just going to reach the arms back behind. So big stretch before we come into Shavasana. Good. And then just releasing everything back down. So the palms, the hands are down on the floor. Get whatever you need now to get comfortable for the next few minutes. So you might want to put socks on. You might want to get your blanket, put it under your head or put it over your body. I like to roll it up and put it under my knees and then release my legs onto it like that. Turn the palms of the hands up towards the ceiling. Again, just take a minute or two or a moment or two to lengthen through the back of the neck. Take the shoulders away from the ears. And then just closing the eyes whenever you're ready. Let's just soften through the jaw. Maybe opening the mouth just a tiny bit and allowing the tongue to float to the roof of the mouth. Cheeks are soft and relaxed. The area between the eyebrows is soft, so that little frown that we all naturally have. So you can just allow the eyebrows to melt down the side of the faces. Relax the forehead. Just allow the whole of the front body to relax and melt into the back body. And let the back body just melt away. Let the front part of your mind, the thinking, the planning part, let that melt back. So slowly now just beginning to bring your awareness back into the room. Back to your breath. And start to bring a little bit of movement back into your body. So maybe pressing the thumb and the forefinger together gently. And then your middle finger, your ring finger, and then your little finger. And then taking the hands behind, stretch the toes away. A big stretch through the body. And then just gently, in your own time, bring in your knees in over your chest. And then rolling onto your right side, just bringing the feet down onto the floor. Bring your head onto your hands. And just taking this last little moment to yourself. And then when you're ready, just coming back to a seated position, nice and gently. No rush here. So whatever you need to get comfortable again before we finish. So maybe grabbing your blanket or your cushion. Resting the hands down onto the thighs. And then lifting up through the crown of the head. Just checking back in with the breath again. Good. And open the eyes. Bring the hands in front of your heart. If you want to, just bring your chin gently down towards your chest. A little fold forward. Thank you so much for coming. Namaste. Have a good weekend. Well done, everybody.